This is the Convene podcast. A recent study shows that the current funding model to encourage group business falls short in significant areas beyond economics. How to make subvention programs work harder. Written and read by Kate Mulcrone, Digital Managing Editor of Convene.
Subvention programs have long been used to attract conferences to host destinations and benefit local communities. Public or government funding is the dominant source for these programs in Europe and Asia, which help to cover the cost of hosting events. In North America, CVB-funded programs are more common. Subvention programs have historically been intended primarily for economic benefit, and a number of factors blunt their full potential for impact beyond that, according to a recent subvention market study. The study, subtitled Subvention as a Catalyst for Sustainable and Impactful Transformation in the Business Events Industry, was led by conference matchmaking platform Confairly in consultation with GDS Earth, the Global Destination Sustainability Movement, and Meet for Impact, a Montreal, Canada-based nonprofit that works to help destinations and event organizers maximize the social, cultural, and environmental impact of their events. The study explores the current landscape of subvention programs for meetings and events, based on data obtained through surveys, in-depth interviews, and live workshops conducted with 55 associations and 115 destinations from around the world. The study shines a light on the limitations of current approaches to subvention, as well as how associations and destinations could change how they collaborate to go beyond economic impact and leave a legacy in host destinations. One key finding is that while 91% of destinations surveyed believe that subvention could be a driver for positive change, only 6% have embedded change-driven criteria into their programs. Greg Jaffrens, co-founder and chief commercial officer at Confairly and one of the report's co-authors, provided additional context for this seeming mismatch between intentions and execution to Convene over email. Several operational realities stand in the way, she wrote. Public funding frameworks are still designed to justify economic return, not social or environmental outcomes. Subvention is often tied to tourism budgets, and changing those KPIs requires political will and proof that impact is measurable. Then there's fragmentation. Multiple stakeholders, for example, CVBs, tourism boards, ministries, share ownership, making it hard to assign accountability. Add in administrative complexity and limited data tools, and progress stalls, even when the intent is there. Another big takeaway is that while utilization of subvention programs is consistently high, nearly 4 out of 5 destinations surveyed have programs, and just over half of associations say they depend on these programs. There's oftentimes limited financial support after an association has booked with a destination. Geneviève Leclerc, CEO and co-founder at Meet for Impact, as well as one of the report's co-authors, shared her perspective on how the best of intentions fail to materialize into change initiatives for individual destinations. There is a subvention funding available to the events or the associations to attract the event to the destination. In other words, to increase visitation or attendance. But there's a lack of dedicated funding that supports associations or event owners once they're confirmed in a destination to pursue any kind of change agendas that require a little bit more than lip service, she told Convene. This has become an obstacle because we've got associations wanting to do this but not having the resources. They're being invited to do impact and sustainability by the destinations to pursue the destination's strategic objectives. And yet, the destinations are not really putting money on the table. They're running these pilots, but there's no plan for succession once the pilots are over, Leclerc said. A gap between destination subvention offerings and event planners' expectations is another key takeaway from the report. A staggering 95% of associations specified that destinations they work with fail to communicate how to use subvention strategically. The report specified the types of mission-driven support that associations most frequently request from destinations. These include financial support, 87%, tools to measure impact, 66%, sustainability guidance, 53%, connections to local stakeholders, 45%, and accessibility and inclusion support, 34%. By contrast, the top priorities for destinations who responded to the study are economic impact, delegate numbers or hotel nights, and sector alignment. For example, wanting to be seen as an accessible destination. Any guidance is better than none at all, but some destinations are way ahead of the game. Leclerc pointed to Destination Canada's International Convention Attraction Fund, which was created in 2024, as an example of a subvention program with clearly communicated objectives. Associations have the opportunity to include a legacy plan with their initial application in order to bolster their chances for subvention funding. They make legacy plans optional, but they give extra money and extra budget if an event does submit a legacy plan, and they provide a set of 8 dimensions where the event could be looking at, she said. So it's not very narrow, it's quite broad, but it has to align with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and it has to align with these 8 dimensions. At this point, about a third of the submissions they've received have submitted legacy plans. In addition to monetary incentives, cities should offer tangible support to event staff and volunteers as planning ramps up. You need to provide toolkits, person-to-person support, and training, Leclerc said. It's really important that any subvention fund that would be developed to support a change agenda has resources put behind it to help clients implement that once they get the money. The study points to the European Forum for Restorative Justice, EFRJ, as an organization that is continually looking to maximize the impact of subvention programs beyond a transactional funding model. EFRJ works hand in hand with the local destinations that host its rotating biennial conferences in European cities to align their meetings with local initiatives in justice reform, social innovation, and community building. This co-creative approach lets local stories and stakeholders take center stage at the event. For example, when EFRJ met in Tallinn, Estonia last year, the conference focused on restorative justice in times of war, whereas the 2023 meeting in Pamplona centered on regional policy innovation. EFRJ also integrates informal gatherings and public events, like social dinners and local community centers instead of traditional restaurants, into the event schedule in order to deepen connections among participants and between attendants and host cities. Looking ahead, Conferli's friends said that the landscape will shift to a more focused, results-driven approach to subvention, in line with Leclerc's call for more hands-on support from destinations. We're moving from how much to how meaningful. Cities will differentiate themselves through their ability to measure impact, share transparent results, and actively help associations build legacy projects that align with local priorities, friends said. Ultimately, this isn't a race against each other, it's a collective move to raise the bar, to compete on purpose, not price, and to show that every funded conference can leave a lasting positive footprint for people and place alike. Although the industry has a long way to go, subvention is still a powerful tool for change in the business events industry. The first step is simple. Ask for subvention and ask for it differently, friends said. Many associations either don't know support exists or they only see it as financial aid. The report clearly shows that subvention can be far more strategic if associations use it to advance their own mission. Friends offered the following practical considerations for event planners keen on maximizing the impact of subvention programs. 1. Define your impact goals early. Be clear about what you want your conference to achieve socially, environmentally, or in legacy terms. 2. Include these goals in your RFP. Add a short section on subvention and impact that asks destinations not only how much they can offer, but how they can help you achieve your objectives. 3. Prioritize partnerships, not discounts. Choose destinations that want to co-create outcomes and will provide you access to local stakeholders, tools, or expertise. Finally, 4. Track and share results. Even simple reporting on accessibility, inclusion, or carbon footprint helps build a case for smarter subvention use across the industry.
Remember to subscribe to the Convene podcast on your favorite listening platform to stay updated with our latest episodes. For further industry insights from the Convene team, head over to pcma.org/convene. My name is Maggie. Stay inspired, keep inspiring, and until next time.